in my line were made from ironbark. They bent but never broke. They raised the children through the famines and the wars, through every grief that came in smoke. They never asked for softness or for mercy. They asked for what they'd earned. They put their hands in everything that burned and came out rough and stern. Ironbark testament, ironbark line. Women made of harder things than wine. Ironbark mother, ironbark hand. Ironbark is how you take a stand. Ironbark testament running through my blood. Women who are barefoot through the mud. I carry every one of them in me. Ironbark testament, I'm free. Iron grandmother crossed the water in the winter with 4 children and 30 pounds. She said she never looked back at the shore. She only looked at where she was bound. She built her life in an unfamiliar country with her ironbark spine and her name. She never spoke of what she left behind, but I know all the same. Ironbark testament, ironbark line. Women made of harder things than wine. Ironbark mother, ironbark hand. Ironbark is how you take a stand. Ironbark testament running through my blood. Women who walk barefoot through the mud. I carry every one of them in me. Ironbark testament, I'm free. I'm the last of the line with the old name. The daughters took their husbands' names and went, but the ironbark lives in me regardless, no matter where the family was sent. I say their names before I go to sleep. I say them like a prayer or a sword. Every woman who survived to give me life. Every woman who endured. I speak to the ash tree every morning, my lips at the root where it splits. I tell it the names of my dead in order, the names and the dates and the bits. The ash tree has listened for 30 years. Its roots have grown around my voice. The forest keeps its own kind of record. The forest doesn't ask you to rejoice. Ashroot prayer, ashroot name. Ashroot holds what I cannot claim. Speak into the roots, speak into the wood. Speak everything I could and couldn't and should. Ashroot prayer, ashroot vow. The ash tree is the only altar now. I'll kneel in the mud with my forehead down. Ashroot prayer in the root brown ground. There was a woman before tree. I found her initials cut deep in the bark. She came before the wars, before the roads, before the village lost its dark. I wonder what she whispered in the wood, what bed she named in the rain. The ash tree holds her prayers and mine together. The tree doesn't separate our pain. Ashroot prayer, ashroot name, ashroot holds what I cannot claim. Speak into the roots, speak into the wood, speak everything I could and couldn't and should. Ashroot prayer, ashroot vow, the ash tree is the only altar now. I'll kneel in the mud with my forehead down. Ashroot prayer in the root brown ground. The council says the ash tree has to come down. Disease in the bark, so they say. I've been sitting at its roots 3 days straight. I don't think I'm moving away. Let them come with their saws and their helmets on. Let them take what the tree is above. They cannot cut out the 30 years of whispers. They cannot cut out the names of my love.
The congregation left before the frost, left the hymnals on the floor. Brother James was found inside the well. Nobody looked no more. The deacon said the Lord provides for all. The deacon took the land. We sang the hymns with empty bellies then, with bloody tithe in hand. Crooked hymn, crooked hand, crooked cross upon this crooked land. Sing it low, sing it wrong. We've been singing the crooked hymn too long. Crooked God, crooked grace, crooked smile on a crooked face. Still I bow my head and mouth the words, crooked hymns for a crooked world. My sister took the veil at 17. Said she heard the calling clear. By 23 she'd wept the veil to rags, and the Lord had disappeared. I watched her sit in empty churches then, talking to the stone. Some people pray so hard and long enough they learn to be alone. Crooked hymn, crooked hand, crooked cross upon this crooked land. Sing it low, sing it wrong. We've been singing the crooked hymn too long. Crooked God, crooked grace, crooked smile on a crooked face. Still I bow my head and mouth the words, crooked hymns for a crooked world. On Sunday morning all the trucks are gone from the gravel parking lot. The steeple leans a little to the east, like everything that's rotting off. I light a candle not for God above, but for the ones below, the ones who never got the crooked hymn, the ones the Lord let go.
I keep the vigil by the stone each year on the day that she was born. Not the day she died, the day she came to light, because I still need to mourn. The born day feels like something worth remembering. The died day feels like loss. But the born day feels like she was real and here, and that's the grief worth the cost. Grave moss vigil, grave moss prayer, I speak your name into the empty air. Grave moss vigil, grave moss stone, I was never meant to do this alone. Grave moss birthday, grave moss light, burning one candle through the grave moss night. If you can hear me anywhere in the ground, grave moss vigil, you are found. Grave moss has grown thick since the first year. The stone is half consumed in green. I take it as the earth accepting her, pulling her into what I mean. By home, by rest, by something gentler than the life she had a chance to start. The moss grows where the grief is richest, grows where the love was in my heart. Grave moss vigil, grave moss prayer, I speak your name into the empty air. Grave moss vigil, grave moss stone, I was never meant to do this alone. Grave moss birthday, grave moss light, burning one candle through the grave moss night. If you can hear me anywhere in the ground, grave moss vigil, you are found. someone else will tend this place, or no one will, and the moss will take it all, and the stone will lose her name and face, but she'll still be held inside the earth regardless, inside the root, the rock, the rain. The grave moss vigil is just my way of saying I haven't lost her yet again.
The fox died under the woodpile last January. I found it when the snow withdrew. Its bones were clean by March, picked perfect by whatever winter creatures do. I kept the skull on the windowsill through April and talked to it in the dark. Something about the hollow of an eye socket helps a man find the mark. Foxbone winter, foxbone cold. Foxbone is how the story gets told. Something dies so something understands what lives beneath the skin of frozen lands. Foxbone winter, foxbone night. Foxbone is what you hold in the light when the living can't give you what you need. Foxbone winter, foxbone creed. My neighbor said it was unhealthy talk to speak to dead things in the house. I said she kept a portrait of her dead husband in every room in the house. She never answered, just looked at her hands. I think she understood. Some grief takes the shape of what it finds. Some grief takes what it should. Foxbone winter, foxbone cold. Foxbone is how the story gets told. Something dies so something understands what lives beneath the skin of frozen lands. Foxbone winter, foxbone night. Foxbone is what you hold in the light when the living can't give you what you need. Foxbone winter, foxbone creed. By April I returned the skull to the woodpile, put it where the fox had lain. The spring came on and covered it with moss, and I didn't need it again. But every January when the cold comes hard and the silence fills the wood, I think about that clean and perfect skull and I think it understood.
The willow by the creek was where we carved our names into the bark. I go there every summer still to check if the names survive the dark. The bark has grown around the letters now, the way skin grows around a scar. The tree absorbed what we put into it and made it part of what they are. Willowscar memory, willowscar name. The tree keeps growing all the same. Willowscar morning, willowscar night. Names inside the wood and out of sight. I put my hand on the bark and I feel everything that time can't fully heal. Willowscar memory carved in deep. Willowscar is the name I keep. Gone 11 years this August. I keep the counting without thinking now. Grief becomes arithmetic eventually, the when and where and how. The willow doesn't know you're gone from here. The willow doesn't track the years. It just grows around the scar and keeps on going the way a river clears. Willowscar memory, willowscar name. The tree keeps growing all the same. Willowscar morning, willowscar night. Names inside the wood and out of sight. I put my hand on the bark and I feel everything that time can't fully heal. Willowscar memory carved in deep. Willowscar is the name I keep. My daughter found the willow last September. She put her hand where I always put mine. She didn't ask me whose name was inside. She just stood there a long time. Some things a child knows without the asking. Some griefs they inherit whole. I watched her hand on the bark and I understood. The willow holds our whole family soul. left behind a coat of silver mud and a silence deep and still. My daughter played beside that river bank from the day that she could walk. Now the river plays her music back to me on the reeds when the night birds talk. Siltwater, siltwater, carry her name down to the sea where all rivers came. Siltwater, hold what I couldn't hold. Siltwater, keep her from the cold. Siltwater, siltwater, sing to me the lullaby she used to ask of me. I stand at the bank and I'll call to the deep. Siltwater, give her back her sleep. The fishermen say that on Midsummer's Eve a girl walks out on a stone. Her dress is the color of river clay, and she never walks alone. They say she leads the young ones in who follow her glowing light. I know my daughter's face in any dark, I know her voice any night. Siltwater, siltwater, carry her name down to the sea where all rivers came. Siltwater, hold what I couldn't hold. Siltwater, keep her from the cold. Siltwater, siltwater, sing to me the lullaby she used to ask of me. I'll stand at the bank and I'll call to the deep. Siltwater, give her back her sleep. Beside this river 40 years, I know its moods like my own blood. I know it takes without apology and gives back only mud. But every night I set a lantern out upon the old stone wall, just in case my daughter finds her way and needs a light to follow home with all.
Duskweed grows at the edge of every road that nobody uses no more. It's the first thing that comes back when people leave, and the last thing to show at the door. I've been driving roads the duskweed's taken back for 20 years, it seems, following the roads that maps don't carry, following other people's dreams. Duskweed road, duskweed light, duskweed's all that's left at the end of the night. Duskweed follows everything that ends. Duskweed grows where the broken fence bends. Duskweed road, duskweed song, duskweed is where the living don't belong. I'll drive till the road is swallowed whole. Duskweed road is good for my soul. I stopped at a diner outside of nowhere. The woman behind the counter knew. She poured my coffee without me asking, the way tired people do for tired people who. She didn't ask me where I was going, she just refilled and looked away. Some kindness doesn't need a word around it. Some kindness just lets you stay. Duskweed road, duskweed light, duskweed's all that's left at the end of the night. Duskweed follows everything that ends. Duskweed grows where the broken fence bends. Duskweed road, duskweed song, duskweed is where the living don't belong. I'll drive till the road is swallowed whole. Duskweed road is good for my soul. I'll go back eventually, I suppose, back to whatever I called home, but not until the duskweed calls me back. Not until I've been alone long enough to feel the hollow that I carry, long enough to put a name to it, long enough to know if what I left behind is worth returning to or quit.
He came to town on a Thursday night with silver rings on every hand. He said he'd seen the far side of the world and had money, had a plan. I watched him from the general store window, watched the women lean his way. By Friday I knew what kind of man he was. By Sunday he would pay. Blackthorn road, blackthorn night. Some roads don't wait for morning light. I walked that road with iron in my head, and I did what the devil understands. by the end of the second week. She smiled at supper, but she couldn't eat, and she never dared to speak. I heard the sounds through the thin wall at night, sounds no sister should hear. I sharpened my grandfather's hunting knife through the whole long month of fear. Blackthorn road, blackthorn night. Some wrongs don't wait for morning light. I walked that road with iron in my hand, and I did what the devil understands. Blackthorn road, blackthorn dawn. By the time they found him, I was gone. Don't ask me what I buried in the clay on the blackthorn road that day. They never sent the sheriff to my door. They never asked me where I'd been. A town knows what a town needs to forget, and what is justice and what is sin. My sister wears no silver rings today. She tends the yard and hoes, and every spring the blackthorn blooms so thick, where the creek beneath the old bridge runs.
The mudcrow sits on the old levee fence and watches the water go by. It's been there every morning for 30 years, at least that long by my eye. My father called it a bad omen bird, said it shows up when someone will drown. He said the mudcrow watched the levee break in '65 and watched the whole third ward go down. Mudcrow ballad, mudcrow eye, watching everything before it dies. Mudcrow perched on the sorrow fence, watching since before it all made sense. Mudcrow ballad, mudcrow wing, black against the sun, announcing everything. It never cries and it never calls, it just watches from the levee wall. I've seen it on the morning a child was lost. I've seen it the day the mill closed down. I've seen it sitting on my own front gate the morning I nearly left this town. I walked out to it with my packed up bags. It looked at me and didn't move. I put my bags back in the hall that day. I don't know what I had to prove. Mudcrow ballad, mudcrow eye, watching everything before it dies. Mudcrow perched on the sorrow fence, watching since before it all made sense. Mudcrow ballad, mudcrow wing, black against the sun, announcing everything. It never cries and it never calls, it just watches from the levee wall. Last spring I found the mudcrow on the ground beneath the levee fence at dawn, lying still with its wings spread perfect wide, like it knew how to be gone. I buried it beside the water's edge, marked the spot with a piece of white stone. Since then the levee's been quiet in the mornings, and I've been more alone.
Table with your hand on the old family book. You swore the same way your father swore to your mother, with that same sidelong, crooked look. Your father's vows burned down the house eventually. Your mother stood in the cold. I should have recognized the family pattern. I was 22 and bold. Tindersworn vow, tindersworn word, dry as kindling you ever heard. Tindersworn flame, burning as our promises became ash on my hands, ash on my floor. Tindersworn vow, I don't swear no more. I kept your vows in a box on the shelf for 11 years. I kept them right, I took them out and read them on our anniversary by the dying candlelight. The words were good, the words were beautiful, the way your father's words were too. The vows were true when you were saying them, I know that much is true. Tindersworn vow, tindersworn word, dry as kindling you ever heard. Touch a match to what a man has sworn, and watch the whole thing catch and burn. Tindersworn vow, tindersworn flame, burning his house. Promises became ash on my hands, ash on my floor. Tindersworn vow, I don't swear no last winter in the yard, watched every vow go bright and black. Some things you keep until you're ready not to, and then you don't take back. The kids watched from the window wondering. I told them it was just old paper. They seemed to understand the way kids do, that something ended in the vapor.
My brother and I used to split the riftwood out behind my grandfather's barn. He'd set the log and I'd swing them all down. We worked like two halves of one arm. We didn't talk much during the splitting, just the thunk of iron and wood. Two men doing the thing that needed doing, the way that brothers should. Riftwood song, riftwood split, every piece of wood that isn't it. The grain goes one way and the moth finds it, two halves of what the whole one's fit. Riftwood song, riftwood cold, stacked up high before the winter cold. Split the sorrow down the middle now. Riftwood song is all we know how. He's been gone 8 years from any address. I can reach him at or find. We split along a line I didn't see coming. Some grief runs along the family line. He took the right and I took the left, the way the riftwood does, and neither half remembers being whole or remembers what the whole wood was. A riftwood song, riftwood split, every piece of wood that isn't it. The grain goes one way and the moth finds it, two halves of what the whole one's fit. Riftwood song, riftwood cold, stacked up high before the winter cold. Split the sorrow down the middle now. Riftwood song is all we know how. I still split wood behind the barn each autumn. I'd do it along with the old maw. I set the log and swing and split it clean, and I don't feel nothing at all, except the one long second in between the setting and the swing, when I forget he's gone and almost turn to hand him the other thing. forest holds its breath in January, as if it's waiting for a name. I walk the old paths every winter morning, and I always feel I came a little later than I was expected, a little wrong in my step, as if the forest counted on my presence, and the forest doesn't forget. Coldlung forest, breathe on me. Coldlung forest, set me free. Let me walk your oldest paths at night. Let me lose myself in right. Coldlung forest, hold my name. Coldlung forest, I'm the same as the ones who walked before my time. Coldlung forest, I am thine. There's a clearing at the center of the forest where the old trees make a ring. Last February something stood inside it. I don't know what it was being. I watched it from the tree line in the darkness for a long and frozen hour. It didn't move and neither did I after. That is the nature of that kind of power. Coldlung forest, breathe on me. Coldlung forest, set me free. Let me walk your oldest paths at night. Let me lose myself in right. Coldlung forest, hold my name. Coldlung forest, I'm the same as the ones who walked before my time. Coldlung forest, I am thine. I came back to the clearing in the springtime. The ring of trees was just trees again. The grass inside was slightly darker where it stood. I couldn't say why or when. I lay down in the center of the ring and looked up at the greening sky. The forest breathed out slow above my face, and that was me, and that was why. Called him a saint when he healed the Watkins girl who'd been sick since she was 3. He laid his hands on her at the river bend, and she walked home clear and free. I knew him when he was just a man, before the stories made him glass. I knew the things he did in his own darkness. I watched the ember years go past. Emberglass saint, emberglass glow. Emberglass is what you make of what you know. Half the fire and half the shine, half the darkness claiming to be divine. Emberglass saints, emberglass clear, showing what the people need to hear. I won't call you liar. emberglass saint. I just knew you. He came to me one winter and confessed without the costume of his name. He sat at my table and he wept a long time. He told me everything that he became. He said the Watkins girl had been improving 3 days before he touched her side. He just arrived at the right moment, wept. He said he couldn't hold the tide. Emberglass saint, emberglass glow. Emberglass is what you make of what you know. Half the fire and half the shine, half the darkness claiming to be divine. Emberglass saint, emberglass clear, showing what the people need to hear. I won't call you liar, I won't call you true. Emberglass saint, I just knew you. Died in March, the whole county mourned. They put his likeness in the church. I sat in the back pew at the funeral and watched them worship from my perch. The saint they loved was partly true and partly the story that the story needs. All saints are made of emberglass and darkness. All saints begin as seeds.